Hello and welcome back to Android Decoded. As a reminder, this is a series aimed at explaining the somewhat confusing world of Android to newcomers. In the first video, we talked about the Android hardware ecosystem. Today we'll be comparing Android to iOS, the iPhone's operating system. For this comparison, I'll be demonstrating the stock version of Android, as other manufacturers, even with heavy skinning, don't stray too far from it in terms of its base features. In my opinion, these two OSs are less different than they seem, so we'll cover the similarities first. If you turn on the screen, you're faced with what's called the lock screen. It's roughly the same on both. It'll show you the time, the date, and your notifications from all your apps. A right swipe will take you to the relevant app on iOS, while a double tap is required on Android. There are also quick shortcuts on both. You can swipe up from the bottom right on the iPhone for quick access to camera, same as on Android, but you can also swipe from the bottom left for a voice search on Android. On both OSs, you can log in either with a PIN code or a fingerprint sensor, though on Android you may also use a pattern or keep your phone connected to a nearby Bluetooth device like a smartwatch to keep it unlocked. Once you're in, you're faced with what's called the home screen. On both devices, it's a grid of icons that act as shortcuts to your apps. You can create folders for multiple apps, and on Android you can do a little bit more, which we'll get to. While iOS requires that all app icons be in the same rounded shape, there's no such requirement on Android, so you'll get all sorts of shapes and sizes, for better and for worse. Let's look at the home screen from the top. The status bar. On the iPhone, you have the network status indicator on the top left, then the network name, the Wi-Fi connection logo, the time in the middle, and various alarm, rotation, log, Bluetooth status icons beside the time on the right. Android places these status icons all on the right. You'll see the network quality, Wi-Fi connection, Bluetooth vibration mode alarms, and time on the top right. Where it differs from iOS is that notifications make icons appear on the top left. While on both OSs, notifications will appear along the top no matter what app you're in as a banner. On Android, they'll remain as icons on the top left until checked, whereas on iOS, it'll show a counter on the app icon itself. Back on the home screen, you'll notice that Android has a search bar along the top. This acts not only as an instant Google search, but also as a phone-wide search in case you're looking for an app or document. On iOS, you can get this search by swiping down anywhere on the home screen, although you'll have to tap again to search the web if you want web results. Furthermore, if you swipe left from the home screen on iOS, you have Apple's proactive assistant feature showing most used apps, nearby locations, and relevant news. On Android, this is where Google Now goes. This serves similar functions, showing you things that matter to you without you having to go look for them yourself, but Google goes a little bit farther and shows you your current weather, stories from within your app, sports scores, reminders, and much more. Not all Android devices will have this Google Now page. Many will just have more app pages to the left and right. Luckily, Google makes this feature available to all Android devices if you just download the Google Launcher from the Play Store. We'll cover what launchers are in a different video. What's also very similar is the notification shade. Swiping down from the top will show you on both devices your notifications from all your apps in one place, and for some apps you can interact with them too. For example, in Gmail, you can delete or archive an email just from the shade, or quick reply to messages. Similarly, if you pull down from the bottom on the iPhone, you'll get the quick settings for music playback, brightness, volume, and some app shortcuts. On Android, a similar quick settings toggle can be accessed by swiping down twice from the top or once from the notification shade. Downloading apps on these two OSs also works much the same way. You go to the App Store or the Play Store, search for it, install it, and you're done. This takes us to the differences. I would say there are three major differences between Android and iOS. Most current flagships do not have a hardware home button like the iPhone. Instead, they've switched to on-screen buttons. The upside of this is that Android can theoretically be put on any touchscreen. The lack of a hardware button also allows manufacturers to be more creative with their designs, like the Nexus 6, which is mostly just screen on the front. On most Android phones, you'll have your home button centered, a back button on the left, and a recent apps button on the right. The iPhone doesn't have a dedicated back button, but in most apps, you can do it from the top left. Similarly, app switching is done through a swipe from the left on an iPhone, while it's got a dedicated button on Android. Now, the second of the major differences are widgets. You can see a clock widget on this Android home screen. Widgets are essentially just mini versions of apps that live on your home screen for quick access and convenience. For example, this Google Calendar widget shows events with just a glance, and Google Keep shows notes. Lots of apps come with widgets, and they certainly add some functionality to your device, but of course they're fully optional and you can choose to remove them if you wish. To place a widget on the home screen, simply click and hold any blank space on your home screen and click widgets to go find an alphabetical list. Placing a widget is as easy as holding it and dragging it out to wherever you want on your home screen. While iOS also has widgets, they're limited to the notification shade. The third major difference on the home screen is the app drawer. When you install an app on an iPhone from the App Store, it'll commonly go to the end of your last page. On Android, it'll do the same thing. However, unlike iPhone, you can actually remove apps from your home screen without uninstalling them. Even if you remove an app, it'll remain within the app drawer. This is generally located on the dock of your home screen and opens up to reveal an alphabetical list of all your installed apps. It's easy to think of the app drawer as kind of like a start button or launch pad. It shows you all your apps, while your home screen is kind of like your desktop, where you can place whatever app shortcuts you wish. This allows you on Android to customize your home screen at a much greater extent and get rid of apps that you don't use too often. Placing an app from the drawer to your home screen is as easy as holding it in the drawer and placing it wherever you wish on your home screen. Deleting an app or widget works much the same way. Hold it and drag it up to remove or uninstall. Now that we've covered the big ones, I want to talk about a few minor differences and similarities. On both OSs, you can back up your entire phone with all your apps and the data inside them to the cloud and restore your device after a reset just as it was prior to the reset. But Apple still does a better job with backup and restoration. You don't always get all your app data back because developers have to opt in to auto data backups. Also, iOS can back up not just to the cloud but also to physical media through iTunes. The share button in most apps will bring up the share menu on both OSs, which will allow you to share to most used apps. But Android share menu is a little better because it'll show you your top contacts from your most frequent sharing app and also organizes sharing apps more contextually. Another feature of both OSs is voice search. It's accessible on iOS by saying "Hey Siri" or holding the home button, while on Android you can activate it by saying "OK Google." Both of these assistants will allow you to do a lot more than search. You can ask them for directions, ask them to set reminders, ask them what's nearby, and much more. Siri has a bit more of a personality, while Google is all business. In terms of actual voice recognition accuracy and usefulness though, some unofficial tests you can find online have shown that Google's voice recognition seems to be a little bit better. Google has also just added a cool new feature called Now on Tap. If you hold the home button, it'll scan whatever's on your screen no matter what app you're in and give you search results and suggestions based on it. This is where Android's deep Google integration really shines through. Well, that covers the major similarities and differences between these two operating systems. I have to say, they really are more alike than they are different, and that's been a growing trend. While some have made out this holy war between Apple and Google and Android and iOS, that's not really the case. They're both very mature operating systems that have taken a lot from each other, and because they keep getting better, the consumer wins out in the end. That's all for this episode. In the next one, we'll take a deeper look at how the user experience differs across these OSs by looking more specifically at individual apps in the app's ecosystem. Subscribe and like if you learned something new, and as always, leave a suggestion for what else I could cover in this series. Well, see you next time.